Okay, I thought we'd take a look at Nick Price, one of the greats of the game, known for his sort of very quick tempo but great technique and one of the best ball strikers of all time. So I have some really good footage here. We've got 3 different views. I haven't seen much of Nick Price's swing that's available online, especially when he was in his prime, so I thought this would be really good for us to take a look at. We'll start on the right hand side. Again, he had sort of quite long arms, good posture, a little bit of knee flex. You can very much see how his toes or his heel line is parallel to his target there, and he's got that pole down to, which is most of these days you'd have sort of an aim stick to helping aim. It does the same job. So, very modern swing in many ways. Again, club's very much on plane. It slightly leaves the shaft plane line, but I know I'd much rather see the club slightly outside the hands than too inside. The club face is very much what we'd say is matching his spine. And in a previous view, we looked at Treasury Woman. His club face was tending to point to the sky a little bit more, and it really doesn't matter. It's how the movement then occurs from here. Nick Price, for those that have looked at his swing, was known for this sort of quite a steep movement at this point, or got the shaft quite steep, and then there'd be this shallowing movement that David Leadbetter was teaching in the 90s. Faudo was another one that did this move. The golf swings maybe move slightly away from this. These days maybe tend to teach the shaft pointing more at the ball, and then there's less movement in the downswing. But let's have a look at Nick Price here. Very compact, great club face position at the top. His arms are certainly in front of his body over that shoulder, so he's going to have a slight shallow in the shaft there. And maybe the modern swing, that left arm be a little flatter, and then we wouldn't need this shallowing move. But he was so great at, now we've got this notable shallow, so the shaft's back on plane now and parallel to our shaft plane line. But what he was great at doing was now just turning his chest and keeping the club on line. Again, look at those knees. If anything, they're slightly right of his toe line, so very passive lower bodies. You can a lot easier to sink the swing in that manner. And now his arms are just going to fall right down and move into his body. Club face is lovely and square. This position here is pretty much spot on. And then into impact, he was one of the best at matching his initial setup position in terms of the shaft plane and then impact, and that was really what the best ball strikers, or what would an ideal would be. Great looking impact, and then again a passive release and that handle working left into a very balanced finish. And again that shaft, sort of 3/4 shot here, that shaft sort of back matching his spine nearly, a sign that there hasn't been much manipulation through the ball. So going from front on, so I've got it at ball width in front of his middle. He's maybe got about 6 iron here, this nice L shape. He stays sort of very centered over the ball. If we just check this out here, so there's not going to be a big move into his right side. He's very much stayed centered, and then there's that nice transition forward into his left forefoot, looking for his hip to sort of cross that line, which it does, and move to the middle of the knee, and then the edge of his head really come back to where it started. So that's a real covered, strong looking position there. And then this just slight release of the club head, but very orthodox, great looking movement. And you can see why he's one of the best ball strikers of all time. And then finally, just from over the camera again, I think it's always quite a good view to look at, especially in terms of, we look at this sort of halfway back, he's going to have slightly steeper movement, and then there's going to be this slight shallowing, but he gets this club out in front of him so well there, and that position, you know, for any of you watching, especially low handicap players, if you can get that look at your delivery position, you're going to be playing a lot of great golf. Club face is very much square or a couple of degrees open to his path, club's out in front of him, and again you can just turn through and just hit a very neutral slight fade from there. You know, even though, you know, modern coaching maybe slightly moved away from a couple of the movements he does, I would still say he's a, you know, great swing to copy and one of the best of all time.